Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to do a reading. So we're one day past. I'm filming this on 11/12. So we're just outside of that 11/11 portal. And oh my gosh. So for me, I've been completely taken offline the last several days. I've been going to bed at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, sleeping 11, 12 hours every night. And of course, we've had those X flares 3 nights in a row. Last night, things have kind of calmed down in terms of the flaring. Although I read this morning, there's still a 55% chance of X flares right now in this energy. So a lot of geomagnetic storming and like the super like KP, whatever, what's the KP? Is it KP? The 9, the highest level of storming. And then of course the solar proton and the radiation storming. And so just a lot with all the auroras that we're all seeing on the Facebook posts and all this all around the world. And so we're getting hit again. And this is just on the heels of all of that communication with the comets last month, the 29th, culminating with 3i Atlas closest to our sun. And then pretty immediately going into the solar flaring and all of that. And so this is like the most activity we've had in a really long time. Again, the last X flare that we had was 5 months ago. The last X flare that we had just the other day was X5, which is really quite high, one of the highest ones we've had in this solar maximum. So anyway, just a lot going on. But yeah, for me, it was a lot of exhaustion and just, and at first I thought it was because I had been so busy. So normally I'm a pretty inward person. I might have like, a weekend, every once in a while, a weekend of a lot of social activity and, kind of out and about. And then I'll just like come back into my cocoon and like, I'll just be in nature and just kind of be in my like quiet rhythms for weeks or months. But this time it was like 6 weeks of, I think it was around 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks of pretty nonstop activity, almost like I don't know if you're relating to this. I know this isn't everybody, but I think for some of us, there's been a real quickening in our path where it was almost like just this like a carpet rolled out where it was like, okay, go here, now go here, now go here, now go here. And just one thing after another, a quickening, and for me, as somebody that often feels guided not to do things, I felt guided to do all of them. Everything was aligned and it felt like it was ushering me onto this new path. Okay. So I think on the one hand, on a 3D level, it's like, yeah, all this quiet right now and this pullback is balancing out the polarities, but I know that it's also all connected, right? It's all connected. And so all of the solar activity that's been hitting us. Amanda Lawrence was talking about how she had dream intel. You might want to check her out if you don't follow her. She's on YouTube and Facebook. Amanda Lawrence with the W L-A-L-A. I'm trying to help. Lawrence, you probably know how to spell that. Anyway, she has dream intel. So she was talking about, she had seen before that there was going to be this electrical energy coming in, and she validated that that's what we've been experiencing the last few days. And of course, the electrical energy being our masculine energy, the masculine energy in the world, our outward yang type of energy. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy because I've been like more yang than I've ever been in probably since I was like a teenager, and when I didn't know how to honor my inwardness, But anyway, so she was saying all this electrical energy was coming in, and what it was going to do, it was going to knock our electrical energy offline. It was going to make it so that we couldn't do anything, which is exactly what I was feeling. And she was saying the guidance to integrate and support ourselves during this time was to go inward, go into the magnetic energy, which is that feminine, that yin, that, and so for a lot of us, that's very natural because it's kind of how we live, right? But I think there's often self-judgment when we aren't able to do anything or we feel really tired, because again, the conditioning in our society is to be productive, and we feel really good when we're productive and we're making connections and doing new things. Wow, I'm really doing a good job here, that kind of thing. And then when we're asked to just rest and integrate and just be kind of foggy and not knowing what's going on, that's actually when we're doing the most work, because that's when the inner alchemy is going, and when we're integrating and when we're setting down those roots. So that was the message that I kept getting through cards that I would pull for myself in the morning and through my intuition, is that there had been so much movement going on. I also felt this real musical chairs type of energy where there were new people coming in, new connections. They might not have been new. Some of them for me were people like I recently reconnected with the first woman I ever met in my town, and I've been here 18 years. And I always liked her, but we were just sort of like on different tracks. And now we're just like, wow, like really matching up. And she's connecting with some of the other people that I'm really connected to. So it seems like there's this whole new network forming. Whereas some of the other things or people that I had been really connecting with and really clicking with for a while, feels like that's kind of loosening or maybe rearranging or asking to reconfigure in a different way or leave altogether, that type of thing. Just this musical chairs rearranging type of energy. And it feels like a lot of us, so what had happened for me, and I've talked about this before with the eclipses in March of this year, there was a lot of us that started getting the guidance to seal off our energy, seeing where we were leaking the energy. And so that was sort of like the movement. Instead of being in the outer world, it was in the inner world, where it was like, okay, I need to stop doing this. And then you take that step and you clear that off. And then, wow, you can see more. I need to stop doing this too. And you just, this cleanup. And for me, and I know for others that I've talked to as well, that sort of culminated in June, where we just reached a different level of integration or sovereignty. Is that crowned and sealed energy again, where our energy wasn't leaking. It was that Queen of Wands energy, where we had our own magnetism. So we started attracting in differently, and certain things are starting to not feel right anymore because they were kind of on the other side of that, some of those barriers, right? And so, starting to notice some shifts around June where it's like, ooh, I feel a bit of a wobble in the field. I feel like my life is asking me to do different things. Maybe you first sniffed it out, another something kind of leaving or rearranging. And then it seems like just in the last week or two, there's been some sort of finalization with that, where it's like, okay, I felt this a while ago. I felt this in June. And now it's really obvious and it's really clear. Now I know what I need to do, or I'm taking steps that will lead me to other things that I need to do, that type of thing. So that's something that I saw really strongly in myself and others that I've been speaking to or doing sessions with, or just observing. And so that kind of stuff. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, but let me just jump into the cards and see what all wants to come through, what's most relevant to come through. So I'm going to do an overall energy for this reading. Oh, wow. Okay, so Spider Spirit, make your dreams real. And so there's been a lot of communication within myself and also with some of my sisters that I powwow with about these kind of things around how we're creating our reality. And so this is happening for my daughter, where she's having an experience now, a very new experience. And she's like, oh my God, I created all of this. And so her and I don't know if we're friends on Facebook. You might have remembered, probably not, but okay, so I'll just share this. There was this time where my daughter and I went to the river, and we were just in this really heightened space, and we were just talking about like our dreams or what we wanted, but it felt like we were seeing what was coming, like we were tuning into what would be the best match for us, or what our like fullest life would look like. And so we just went on and on and on all day long, and we were sitting at this part of the river where there was a bend, so the current was coming straight to us, and it was just a real downloady day. So now we're both experiencing the things that we were saying that day, which was sort of like a channel into the future. It seems like we're experiencing them, where she's like, I created all of this. So if there's any like little nuances in the field where you're like, I don't know about this, it's like, well, I created it. So what do I want to create next? Like almost like trippy to the degree of the things that we had, we were just walking through the river as well. We were walking through the river and just speaking it all out and getting down into these minute little details. And those minute details are coming true, which is really interesting. So I had a friend of mine, and she was talking about this, and she was like, oh my God, I'm a prophet. Oh my, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing. I don't think you will if you watch this, but I don't think you mind, because it's just the best story. She's like, oh my God, I'm a prophet, and like all this, everything I see is coming true. And then her guys were like, no, you're a powerful creator. And she's like, ow, so we were putting that together because we were both feeling this energy and this reminder. Okay, so I'm often talking about this as well, when it comes to like the body stuff that we feel. I notice often when I'm going through the activations or the purges, I'll feel like I'm dying. We're talking about this all the time, and I know many of you relate, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like maybe something's really wrong, and all these things. But then as soon as I would flip the perspective and the story, and I would get excited and be like, wow, I'm activating and I'm clearing, and this is exactly what I wanted and exactly what I've been calling forth. Speaking of calling forth things, because I've been calling this forth for a decade, and then celebrating it and being like, wow, then the energy would feel, the sensations, the visceral sensations would feel like expansion, or they would feel like excitement, or it would be full of like downloads, right? Like you just flip the station, right? So that kind of thing. And realizing that was the first time when I really saw very, very clearly that I was creating my reality, and I was creating it with my beliefs, and I was creating it with the stories that I was telling. And so just keeping up on that, right? And if things start to wobble, be like, oh, wait, where am I going into negative thinking, or where am I going into that Five of Pentacles type of energy of like, oh no, this could never work out, and let me focus on all the negatives, right? And knowing that we are creating our realities and that we have that power. So last time I was talking about the spider with the grandmother energy and the feminine energy within us and within our lineages, and I feel like that was part of the message that was coming through, was about this creation. And I'm just seeing it now in this moment, because we did a lot of us, and I've had other people write to me and say they were doing the same thing, but a lot with our paternal lines, with the distortions. So it would be the masculine energy, the masculine distortions, the rogue masculine that doesn't turn towards our intuition and our inner knowing, right? And when we have our polarities in balance, that's when we're able to create, and so the grandmother energy coming in at the end of all that clearing and kind of sitting in her web, like, what would you like to do now? What would you like to do now that you've cleaned up the masculine energy within your lineage, and therefore within yourself? All of us collectively doing this within ourselves, and supporting perhaps or watching our partners or previous partners, going through their sort of purification of their masculine energy, right? So on all the different fractals within us, within our relationships, within our lineage, and then farther out, and all coming back to, after purified, coming back, turning back towards that feminine energy, which I was talking about last time. And when we turn towards our feminine energy, we're turning towards our intuition. When our masculine energy is in service to our feminine energy, then we're creating from our God spark, from our God source, from our God knowing. And that's when we really create. So something like that's coming through just in this moment, after the huge clearing that a lot of us did through our masculine line, through our masculine energy. I also saw some people talking about that in relation to the 1111 portal, where it's like, that's when it kind of cleared, which makes sense to me, because I was really, today I feel good. Yesterday I was completely offline of my own line, and just feeling like I couldn't do anything. And so I just surrendered to that. And I took a lot of naps, even though I had slept like 12 hours the night before, and I just, I did manage to like go get some food. And, I saw somebody I knew at the co-op, and was just like, I'm actually in bed right now. I just had to teleport myself here to get some food. So she left me alone, and, she knew she was kind of in the same space. And so anyway, yeah. And then today I just felt really fresh, and I'm like, giving my garden a water. It's last deep water before the freeze. We're going to freeze this coming weekend, and stuff like that. And just like vacuuming my rug, and just kind of tending where it feels like this, like, again, like I was talking about last time, being in the physical, doing things in the physical. And so anchoring this energy. So I did interrupt myself. I don't remember what I interrupted myself with, but the grounding and the rooting, where there have been so many shifts and so many things coming and leaving, that now it's just the last few days been this real kind of anchoring energy. And of course, everything is always, like, for example, we're anchoring the things that, like, for me, for example, with the expansion and the changes and all this, anchoring that new platform that I'm on, rebalancing, allowing things to settle. But we're also being asked to anchor, because we have all this, like Amanda was saying, electrical energy coming in, which is affecting the masculine energy, which is interesting, putting all those things together. What Amanda had said with the electrical, which is the masculine, what people are saying about the 1111 portal, that stuff that we were picking up on with the clearing of the paternal line within us, and therefore through our lineage. All of this, okay, the masculine energy, the electrical is being purified. And so that kind of landing yesterday, and now just kind of getting our bearings, where I feel really balanced in my inward and my outward, where I am doing things, but I'm also keeping it really tight with myself. My daughter and I are going to go into the forest later this afternoon. I haven't been there. Well, it's only been a week, but it feels like a really long time for me. So anyway, let me pull a little bit more. So a lot there. Again, the way that we create is to have our polarities in balance. So after a big clearing of our masculine sides, our feminine sides feeling seen and heard and safe, that came up in that last reading. And now this creation energy kind of peeking its head out first and foremost in this reading. Okay. So also it's an 11, 5 and 6, there's an 11, there's that portal energy and what we just kind of walked through. what we just walked through. So it's also sort of that like, wow, you know, that spring energy where you're like, where am I at now? But I don't even know if I'm there yet. I'm still kind of cocooning. I'm not out. I'm not out yet. No. That was not correct. Okay, so what do we get? Oh, Three of Cups. That's beautiful. So the Three of Water, this is a card of celebration. It's also a card of communing with others, collaborating with others, community, celebrating, creating together. So that's the other message that I'm really getting with this creation energy, is that kind of like what I was saying with the new people that are coming into my life, and some of the other people, maybe things just kind of shifting around, right? Where there are like these new constellations or these new groups, new energies being pulled together from the changes that you've made, the things that you've, again, that sealing off the energy leaks and having your circuitry intact, broadcasting your true energetic signature without the leaks and without distortions. And so you're attracting in things that really match you, and you're finding your crew. I think a lot of us are finding our crew. Our crew is always changing. Some people are steady and they stay, but it's often always changing because we keep expanding, and it's like you need to kind of swap files with different people because you're ready to activate certain things within you that maybe they have more activated, or you need somebody around you to really ground you because you're really reaching out, or maybe vice versa. You're really grounded and you need somebody to kind of open you up a little bit, or whatever it is that you need. You're going to pull in those people that are a perfect match to that. And hi Panta. Sometimes you'll see her there. Nope. Yeah, there she is. My little black kitty. Yeah, people that, some people just, you know, obviously we know some people just come in and come through and then they might come back around later, but a lot of that right now, a lot of collaboration energy again. And that can just be with our guides too. It can be with, galactic energies. I know a lot of people, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, where people were really connecting with the ships in the sky and connecting with the galactic energies, and maybe even being taken up on the ships at night. So it doesn't, or even the, I have this one woman that I connect with. We do readings and sessions together, and her partnership is like with the elements. Like she's really in partnership and union with the water. It's like the water is her beloved, you know, and same thing with the elements and the plants. And so it's like, it's all one family. So whether we're connecting with, out, you know, in space, or we're connecting deeply in nature with the elements, or with the Fey realm, or, you know, the energies behind the plants and behind nature, or with people, or with all of it, right? There's just a lot of collaborative energy right now. Okay. And opening up more and more and more through that portal into creation. Okay, so yeah, the Two of Pentacles. So this definitely feels like some of the energy right now where we're kind of stabilizing ourselves, and we are sort of juggling two things. I was actually thinking about this morning, how we're juggling, you know, what's leaving. There's a lot that's leaving that we're kind of sorting through, and like what part of this stays, and like what part of me stays with this, and what part of it goes, you know. So we're doing the sorting on the leaving, but then we're also in this creation energy, and there's a lot coming in. So we're kind of holding space for what's coming in. It kind of feels like the emphasis right now is in some ways more about what's leaving. Even if there's equal amount or even more of what's coming in, it's like what's leaving is just like louder, because there might be like uncertainty, or there might be a little bit of grief, or there might be just processing or wanting to hold on because you're not quite trusting that what's coming in is going to really come in, that type of thing. So it feels a little bit louder. So we're kind of juggling those two energies. There's a lot of contradiction right now, I feel, in the energies. Even though this is the dominant energy, it's like, it's just what is leaving is that energy is going to be a little bit louder because it hits us more on the emotional level. I feel like what's coming in is sort of more that energetic, visionary, you know, higher frequency energy, maybe not quite as embodied. You know, we've been living in lack and limitation. We've been living in attachment. You know, it's just the louder, denser energy, and it's the one that's echoed and reinforced all around us, right? So it's louder, but this one is actually louder because it's more true and it's more sustaining. And so we know this, but just speaking about the nuances in the energy field, you know, Yeah, and needing a lot of rest and a lot of quiet to just sort of like be with this process, this death process. Right now it feels like in the northern hemisphere, of course, we're in fall, so it's perfectly matching what's going on. I don't know what it's like if you're in the southern hemisphere. That would be kind of an interesting energy. I wonder if you're feeling, if you're in the southern hemisphere, if you're feeling the newness more. I don't know. It seems like the death energy is always a little louder because it's like, again, it hits the emotional body. Yeah, the Hangman. So yeah, we're kind of hung up, we're kind of strung up. I feel like we're strung up in this energy. We're just tied up. It's like this new energy is coming in, and it's and like for me, for example, when I was just like expansion and like networking and like wow, like I didn't, like my daughter and I, like everything that we put in the dream machine is coming true, and wow, and then all of a sudden it just went like where you just kind of had to find your center. This is also a card of being in the moment and just finding your steadiness and finding your balance, and one step in front of another. It's like everything just really slowed down. And again, it's really for the sake of putting down roots. You can see here in this card, he's hanging off of wood. There is sort of a tree symbolism in here, and he's upside down. So his crown is at his roots. The crown is where the roots would normally be. So there's just, we're merging, we're anchoring. There's an anchoring energy with that as well, and just anchoring everything that we may have access out here in the new earth energy, the new human energy. Yeah, a little bit of a screeching halt. And that's what Amanda Lawrence was talking about as well, where it's like, we're not going to be able to move forward. And so I have this big event on Saturday. I was asked to be the tarot reader at this party, this woman's like celebration. There's gonna be like valet parking and all this stuff. So I have to be on my game, and I'm reading at Mystic the day before, and I'm just trusting that it's going to be fine, that I'll be good to go at that point. But that energy of like, okay, that's it. I'll never be able to do anything again. Like that's how the energy feels. It can feel that way. That's how I'm feeling. And, sounds like other people are feeling similarly, where, yeah, you're just kind of like, whoa, what the heck, did I completely fall off the wagon here? And I don't know if I'm ever going to get back on. You know how it always kind of feels that way. But then you do, and you completely forget about what it feels like. It's almost like there's two different realities. There's the clearing reality, which might be connected to hell realm or to trauma or to this kind of stuff. And then there's this higher reality, and they're different frequencies. So when you're really in one, you kind of forget what it feels like to be in the other, and vice versa, right? But just trusting the cyclical nature of things. It's going to move. It's going to move. We're not ever stuck anywhere. It's going to move. Okay. But we are stuck there for now. We are stuck there for periods of time. But again, just to ground and anchor. And it's like that Icarus thing. Like if you fly too close to the sun, you burn up your wings. You got to keep those polarities balanced. And I think a lot of us got like a huge expansion and a huge up leveling, and then it's like, okay, hold on, like ground this, anchor this, like weave this in, let it be in service. It's not just about you and your expansion and your wow. It's like, this is everything that we're grabbing up here. We're grabbing to anchor back down in service to everyone, so that everyone has access to these energies. We're weaving them into the grid. For me, I've been being moved around a lot. I went to Colorado, to the mountains there. And I've been saying, I've been going out to Mimbres, this town near us, on the 108 ley line, near the 108 ley line, which connects to other parts of the grid. And then I was down in Las Cruces with the Oregon mountains. And so there's just been a lot with the mountains and a lot with the grid, and just trusting where you're being moved around to, even if it's nearby in your location. Because we are working the grid and we are planting, and so whoever you're with in those locations, there's constellations within you. Again, this collaboration with you and their energy and whatever codes they're having. Like this weekend, it was my daughter and a dear friend and her partner, and we had like dream synchronicity. We had all this like sort of, first of all, our room number was 222. And then when we were driving home, when we looked at the GPS, the mileage home was 111, and that kind of thing. And so, but yeah, a lot with the dream space. And I can't even remember. It was like I was so altered the entire time, and there was just a lot between the three of us. But our three energies plus the masculine, that was really space holding for us. Like he was a vendor there, so he got us in and just took care of us and gave us, you know, a spot to see. He was just like such a divine masculine that was just like, let me contain you, because we were doing all this, you know, all this work and work for him and with him as well, and for the masculine, and the mountains there are very masculine energy as well. So there's just all this kind of behind the scenes things going on. So it can seem like you're just going on like a trip or a vacation or going to visit your family, but there's all this kind of behind the scenes stuff, and trusting that whoever you're with and whatever's happening is part of it, part of that. Yeah, and being held, being tied up, whether you're tied up, like for me, I was really tied up in a lot of activity and forward motion for a while. I couldn't get off the train. I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, how do I have the energy to do this? It just keeps going. And now it's gotten really, really still. So I don't know what that was. Something happened. So, all right, let me do one more for this row here. What's that? Nope. Just gonna shuffle and let it come out. Oh, it came out anyway. Came out again, the King of Cups. So the King of Cups, that's interesting, because that is kind of the energy that I was just talking about with that masculine, that divine masculine energy that just has a lot of love and care and devotion to the feminine energy. And I feel like that's what we're stepping into within ourselves and turning towards and caring for our own intuition, but also in the men in our lives. You know, if we are connected with a man that isn't in this energy, and we are our inner masculine is in this energy, he's going to rotate out of our lives, you know, because he's not going to be a match to the reflection that we have within ourselves. So a lot of us starting to receive this kind of support from masculines in our lives, if you're a female, and you might find that if you're a male and you've turned towards a male, is that what it's called? Sorry, that I'm just like, ignore me. My brain is, I'm a little off. I'm a little off. I might always be a little off, but I'm pretty off today. But I think I'm making it work. But yeah, if you're a male and you've recently turned towards your feminine energy and you're listening to your intuition, you might find yourself pulling in divine feminine energy that you feel you want to commit and devote yourself to, you know, and vice versa. If you're a female and you are containing yourself and listening to yourself and kind of being this for yourself, then you might find yourself pulling this in, a true reflection of what you are. Because again, it's always a reflection. It's always an inside job. So, but that being the job, that masculine energy, that divine masculine energy that listens to and supports and tends to the feminine within us and within each of us and within our lives. Yeah. And so, okay. So I'm going to use one of my new decks here and go underneath. Actually, I need to drink water. Okay. Wow. Oh, okay. So we get Earth. This card has been coming through for me as sort of like a slow meditative energy. You know, you think about Earth, it's dense and it moves really slow. And so this being the energy that a lot of us are in right now. And so that's 17, number 8. That's not really popping out as anything for me in this moment, but yeah, just this still, but it also implies an anchoring and a rooting into the earth. So just validating that the stillness. So this is coming out underneath make your dreams real. So whereas a lot of us might feel like we're not making anything real right now, you know, or things are just kind of leaving, we are, it's again, just validating that information that came through earlier, that we are anchoring. We're anchoring the new heights that we've achieved, is what I want to say, but I don't know if that's the right wording. The expansions that we've acclimated to, the new territory, the new terrain, the new consciousness, the expansion and consciousness that we've gained. We're just being asked to be really still and quiet and yin, and with our feminine, you know, to hold again that masculine energy, holding the container for just the stillness, almost like we're birthing something. And so the womb, you know, the womb space that's holding that. So a bit of that kind of energy here. Okay. Whoops. That one just popped out. Oh, okay. Yeah, the 5 of Cups. So that energy has definitely been coming up, you know, in terms of the things that we were talking about, the things that are leaving, the things that we're having to let go of, some things that we might have really enjoyed, and that were a big part of our lives for a while, or even for a short while, but that we enjoyed them, and just kind of a little bit of a grief process with that, a bit of loss, and just allowing those emotions, and also being still with that process, because you can't really just let go of something. If you feel nothing about letting go of something, then it's already gone. The letting go process involves some pain and some emotion and some process, because you're still woven with it, and it has to separate out, and you have to feel it. Otherwise you're bypassing. So, there's a lot of new that came in, it's kicked up a lot, and now we're kind of clearing out. It feels kind of specific this time, though. Like sometimes the clearings are happening on all these different multidimensional levels. You don't know what's going on, and you're just like dumping on a cellular level. This one feels more personal, more visible, more like a couple times, like it might not be real conscious, but like a couple times I just felt like I wanted to weep. Like I didn't know what I was weeping about, but I just wanted to weep. Like it feels like the emotional bodies are really up right now. And so I think that there are real visceral things that are clearing and changing in our lives. And again, it might be connected to something new and wonderful coming in, but some of the routines, like my daughter, for example, she's gone a lot, she's gone a lot now because she has this new experience going on in her life. And it's great because I have more time alone, and I wake up in the morning and I don't have anybody yakking at me, and it's just fabulous. But at the same time, I miss her, it's like, we had these little routines, and so, yeah, just those kind of adjustments, where there's a little bit of a grief, even if it's attached to something really positive, we're still losing something, in a lot of cases. Okay, so let's see what else here. I'm going to do a moon oracle. This might actually be a little bit of a shorter reading. So sovereignty. So yeah, that's basically, and it's a 41 equaling up to a 5. So big card of change. And that is all the changes that are happening in our lives are because of the sovereignty that we're actualizing right now. And so this goes back to what I was talking about in March, when a lot of us started sealing off our energy and making different choices and letting things go. And, we might have had some of this energy then too, but it also felt more like a mission then, where it was just like, no, I have to do this. I'm being called to cut this out, because otherwise I'm going to fail at my entire reason for being here, this type of thing. And so a lot of work that a lot of us have done over the last 7-8 months in terms of our sovereignty and our ability to, again, it comes back to this, to secure our energy, to preserve our energy, to make choices that protect our sovereignty, to protect that high priestess, that high knowing, that wisdom, the feminine energy, and that which is capable of creating change, change, true creation. So linking back up with this, so coming back around to that message. I do want to say, I forgot to read these on top of each other. So we have the 3 of Cups over top of the 5 of Cups. So this is watery. So it does seem like there's support available for these kind of purges, and you might be doing them. Like, for example, my friend and I, the one I went to the Renaissance Fair with in Cruces this weekend, we were going through a very similar one of these, and in talking about it, it was different. It was a different kind of situation and context, but it was pretty much the same theme. And so we were able really to like support each other in moving through that, because it was a similar theme of like, just kind of outgrowing something, or somebody maybe projecting something onto you because they don't quite understand, and then it kicks up that, maybe old feelings of just whatever, just being judged, or whatever it is, just some of this older stuff. And so we were able to do that in collaboration together. So I do feel like there's a lot of support right now. And again, that can come. So again, this is the collaboration energy that can come through nature, or through your communication with your guides, or with the galactic energies, or the elementals, or through friends, or through connections, even conversation with a stranger. I saw somebody on Facebook, I forget who it was, but she was talking about how she went somewhere, and I think she didn't even want to go there. She didn't want to see anybody. And she ended up like having this conversation with this person. The person was basically like downloading exactly what what her higher self was saying to her that very same morning. So it was like this beautiful support, right? So even coming in the form of strangers, or animals, you know, like telepathic communication, that type of thing, support. And so then this sovereignty coming out underneath this Two of Pentacles, where we're, you know, we're kind of steadying ourselves and grounding ourselves. And she's very steady. She's holding that center. She's holding that center. So it reminds me again of Amanda Lawrence saying, like, when, you know, when we're kind of in this energy where we're taken offline and we're, you know, trying to find our balance, to come into your magnetic energy. And that is that Queen of Wands, that kind of sovereign energy where you're not leaking anything. You're not leaking anything. Like this morning I had somebody reach out and she was like, do you have time to talk? And I really wanted to be there for her, but I was like, no, you know, like I'm feeling really inward and I just need to garden and clean my house. And I can't do anything for anybody right now, you know, and so that, you know, just being able to contain your energy when you need to, you know, when you need to, just making yourself and your own center the priority, right? So that, and then let's see, let me do another oracle here underneath the Hangman. Let's see what we get. Wow, closing door completion. We got this in the last reading as well. And so again, yeah, so that just that reminder that that's what this sort of being stuck in this energy, whatever energy you're feeling right now, if you're relating to this energy of just being kind of taken offline and just needing to go inward, this type of thing. It is about the closing of a chapter. So that's what this is as well. You know, things that are leaving, things that are ended, they're ending, they're connected to something much bigger and larger. They're connected to the old way of life, the old way of lack and limitation. We're stepping into co-creation energy where we're in alignment, we're in our sovereignty, and we're creating again with our inner masculine, inner and or outer masculine, soon to be outer as well, masculine energy. It feels like to me in our communities, a lot about collaboration. So bringing this energy forward that's truly in alignment with who we are, our original selves, our undiluted selves, our God spark selves, a true Aquarian age where we're all expressing and living and creating from our unique individual expression of all that is, yeah? And we're closing the door on all of the distortions, the ways that the amnesia, the ways that we've been guided and led and conditioned and abused and corralled into separation, into fragmentation, you know, and clearing any remnants of that out. Here's another 5 cards. So we get 2 5s in a row. Again, big change. And that is the change. So we were talking about this last time, that what we're moving into, nobody has ever done before. It's brand new. And so we're creating this together. And we're walking through this door. We're walking through this door and we're leaving this behind. We're feeling this as we're leaving that which was a match to the old contracted pretzeled version of ourselves that would slip into self-abandonment just because somebody else wasn't on the same page as us. You know, all the ways that we would make ourselves a little smaller or just kind of hide behind things that you know, gave us a framework. And really taking the time to put down our own roots in our own soil. We're planting our own unique God spark onto the earth in service to contribute what we're here to do, and then creating from that anchor and that alignment with ourselves. And that is including in this moment pulling back our energy, whether it's pulling it back completely, you know, or just pulling it back from certain things that aren't serving us anymore, that have run their course, because again, it's coming out underneath. These two are coming out together. So we're pulling back our energy from things that the door is closing on, things that are no longer in, or were never really, but again, you know, it's like, it's always changing. You know, we have exactly what we need to help us to see what we need to see, to help us complete what we need to complete, you know, and then when that door changes, then our hologram shifts again. But walking ourselves and each other home again, walking ourselves and each other home in collaboration. So whatever characters are in your life for however long and in whatever way, it's exactly right. It's exactly right for what you need to clear this stuff or to address this stuff to come out of this. So even if somebody that you really love and you really connect with them, they might be playing a role that feels really hurtful, or they might be triggering some of this stuff, or even just a little bit hurtful where you're like, wow, you know, to whatever degree it is, it's like they're still playing their perfect role. You know, they're still collaborating with you on a soul level to help you to come into more of your sovereignty and to shut the door on the self-abandonment, the smallness, the ways that you've been kind of tucking yourself in to fit in or whatever it is. So yeah, and so the characters that we need to support us always changing, and some of it looking really positive and wonderful, and some of it looking a little crunchy, but all of it being in service to bringing us home. Okay, let's see what the last message is. Yeah, this is a shorter reading. Well, on the other side, or underneath the King of Cups here. See, I think I'll use my Slavic tarot. Oh, wow. Okay, this probably won't be the last card. Might not be a shorter reading then, but the Tower. And look at this. This is interesting. So this is like Zeus, right? There he is with this lightning, and the gods, and kind of comes through as like a little bit of a devil energy for me with this. Every time I see this where it's like the big man, the big important energy that's making something happen, it's just, on the one hand, it's like, we are having a lot of cosmic support from, the comets, and from all the solar energy and the geomagnetic storming and all the things, that is coming from the sky, and it's cracking us open, and it's breaking things, apart, and all this. But there is a little bit of a message of sort of like I feel like this is part of what we're closing the door on as well, are the big important things in our lives that we gave our power away to, whether it's a spiritual belief or a group or, a partner or whatever it is, whatever it is, a belief system, even the belief in gods, like gods in a way that strips us of our own power, because again, we have this huge message of sovereignty, and then closing the door. We're closing the door on all the things, all the ways we've abandoned ourselves, and all the ways that we've made ourselves small, and everything that I'm saying. So then this card comes out with this big important person, and it's like nobody is more important than you. I saw a post of Tone Millard's today talking about that again. A lot of us are always reminding each other and ourselves of this, just that we are sovereign beings, and we can source from within ourselves. And a lot of that involves, centering and slowing down and allowing, I don't know if you saw it, slowing down and allowing the insights that we're having to anchor, and the importance of that too. A lot of people will kind of like stretch and reach and then just kind of ride that and crash. But the importance of that integration and that balance where we become integrated with our light and dark, and then again we're creating, and we don't need any kind of middleman. We don't need any kind of middleman in all the ways, So I've talked about this before. When I was raised Catholic and I felt really connected to God, I didn't have any kind of middleman at all. I just had a channel, and I was told I was going to go to hell, not by my parents, just that I got that message from Bible class or whatever, but I was going to go to hell if I didn't believe in Jesus Christ. And I was like, well, I don't need this guy. I don't have any really, what do I need him for? And it was like that intermediary. But just knowing that we have access to everything within ourselves, especially when we turn towards ourselves and we're not doubting ourselves and we're not trying to follow other people or think that somebody else has the answers for us, right? Really seeking, if we're going to seek guidance and collaboration, seeking those reflections that, like that woman, where she was talking to somebody and that woman was saying what she had just said to herself. And so she was, I think my daughter might be coming actually. She was receiving validation of her own power and her own sovereignty and her own knowing. And so a lot of that going on right now. And just this last message of a lot of what's leaving is that distancing of power in all the forms that it is, and coming back, taking the time, coming back to anchor and secure with ourselves so that we have our polarities intact. Again, honoring ourselves when we're in that space instead of, beating ourselves up like, oh, well, gosh, we just can't do anything now or whatever it is. I know some of us do that. And, but really like, okay, we're just going to go to bed at 6:30 then, and we're going to sleep 11 hours, 12 hours, and we might even take a nap, and just, kind of saying no and pulling your energy back, and just kind of maybe abandoning others before you abandon yourself when you need to do that. Having that container for yourself, and then the co-creation that's happening in collaboration with others on the other side of that. So that does feel like a pretty clear message. I'm going to stop there, and I hope that was helpful. Thank you for listening. And and then we'll just see what happens. More prediction for flares and more onwardness always, right? So we'll see what happens. I feel like we're in a real shifting energy right now after after yesterday and all the flares and coming off of this, and we're integrating right now. Yeah, which is really clear from this energy that we're integrating. So we'll see what happens on the other side. I look forward to communing again soon. Okay, take care. Much love.